Good morning. It is, oh gosh, what day is it? Today is Wednesday, March 11th. It is early in the morning. Um, I just rolled out of bed and I have not logged on to work. I have a bit, but I wanted to reshoot this video. This is a video about New Year's resolutions and how they can look pretty different when you are both in school and working full time. But I originally shot this video and it was just kind of all over the place and it was really long and I was editing it and I was like, this is too much. I don't know that anyone would ever want to watch this. I don't even want to edit it. um, so I wanted to go ahead and reshoot this and talk about how these goals look different when you're working and you're in school full time. Also, how I prepare my New Year's resolutions because lots of preparation goes into them, as well as talking about what my New Year's resolutions actually are. I'll talk about those a little bit. And then, just I wouldn't put it out there now. I'll probably do a check in on this topic later in the year. But let's go ahead and get started. So, what I want to talk about first is what New Year's resolutions looked like for me in the past. In the past, I think I'm like a lot of people in that if you don't do a New Year's resolution perfectly, like you end up really falling off the bandwagon with it. And so, really, my New Year's resolutions this year are all kind of piggybacking on New Year's resolutions I had last year. And last year was the year that I went back to school. And I honestly feel like just because I was trying so hard in school, I was like, you know what? If I kind of, don't complete all of my New Year's resolutions perfectly, that's fine because I already have a lot of other stuff going on. And I feel like that mentality unexpectedly made a huge difference for me. I actually was able to pick myself up when I got busy and dropped the ball on certain New Year's resolutions or got sick and wasn't able to perform them, or just life gets busy, one thing or another comes up, and there will likely be I was going to say an opportunity, but there will likely be a time when you end up kind of dropping the ball on your goal just because life's busy like that. But because I already had so much going on already, I was like, it's fine. Let's just keep going. And so, yeah, whereas in the past, I would aim for absolute perfection. And if I didn't get that, I'd be like, I'm done. I'm not doing this New Year's resolution anymore. Because I already had so much going on, I was able to just be like, well, let's just pick ourselves up and keep going. So that's kind of what New Year's resolutions have looked like for me in the past. And then why New Year's resolutions are different while in school and working full time is, for me, that basically means I just don't have a lot of time to commit to these things. So I don't have one singular New Year's resolutions. I have a bunch of different little ones that I kind of combine together. And I would say all together, I think those New Year's resolutions could take up to an hour to an hour and a half of my day, which is not insignificant when you're working full time and you're in school. So that hour to hour and a half was often broken up over the day. And I would use each of these little goals as a break throughout the day. Or maybe I got up early that morning and was really in the mood to try to just knock all these things out. So I'd get up, early before work and do all of these, depending on the day. If I didn't want to wake up and do homework, I might choose to do all of my New Year's resolutions instead. Which, as I say this, I'm like, what could they possibly be? I'll tell you here in a minute. But yeah, you just don't have a ton of time. So, as opposed to other folks who maybe only go to work and then, come home and actually have some free time to perform that goal, you also have to be very meticulous. If you're in a position like me where you're just really busy, making sure that you map out and have a very realistic blueprint for how your time is going to be used when trying to perform these New Year's resolutions, which kind of takes me into my next point, which is how to prepare your New Year's resolutions. But one thing I want to touch on before I get into that is kind of why these New Year's resolutions were really important to me when I made them back in 2025 and why they're important for me going forward. I think I'm someone who doesn't do well putting all of their identity into like a singular or two singular items. Like, I don't like being like, okay, I am solely defined by work and school. Like, I feel like there are too many external factors in those environments for me to get like full satisfaction. So like, I need something that I can control and takes me out of both of those environments. Not that I like can't do well in work and school and find some satisfaction in it, but like, I think I'm pretty practical in that like, I'm going back to school, not necessarily because accounting is like my passion, but because I really want like a more defined set of skills, and I can get satisfaction out of certain parts of accounting, but like on the whole, I'm not like, oh my gosh, eat, die, sleep by accounting. I don't know. I was going to say eat, pray, love, and then I didn't want to like, I don't know. I didn't want to like offend anyone. But yeah, it's just not my total passion. And so I think of myself as someone who is a bit of a jack of all trades in terms of like what I am interested in. And I find myself being the happiest when I like have my hands in a lot of different pots. So my New Year's resolutions were a way to help me like stay motivated through school and not feel too one track about like what I was doing and who I was, because if that were the case for me, I just knew I'd get burned out really fast if I didn't have something else kind of keeping me going and interested and engaged throughout it all. So that's why I'm doing these New Year's resolutions. But then now I want to go into talking about how I prepare these New Year's resolutions. So the real key thing for me here is I am not starting my New Year's resolutions in the new year. I'm starting them mid-December, which sounds maybe a little bit crazy, but it works for my schedule right now. So usually what am I looking for? Or what am I trying to say? School ends for me, like fall quarter usually ends for me a week or two into December, depending on when the final is. Meaning by mid-December, I usually have enough time to start actually implementing my New Year's resolutions and able to take note. But before I even like get into the trial run, at the beginning of December, I go into my Notion and I use like the, project management Notion platform. And I just dedicate a page to my New Year's resolutions, and it's nothing crazy. I might show you the page, I might not, just because it has some personal information on there. But what I do is I first list out the goal, I give it a title, and then under that, I write a very detailed description of what this goal is and kind of why I'm doing it. In that description, that can include just like motivation for where this goal is going to get me in the future if I'm able to succeed. I also build in parameters like, if there's like a holiday coming up, you don't have to do this goal that day. Take a break. If you, maybe me reading out an example would be better. Let me find my Duolingo one. So Duolingo is one of my goals, which is a little bit of a spoiler because I was going to talk about my goals later. But for example, Duolingo lesson daily is the title. And then the description is as such. A repeat from last year, but a goodie. You can use phrases and all you have to do is a short lesson to fulfill your streak. After school, it could be cool to look for some sort of class or tutor. Maybe Lingoda, or that tutoring website that blankety blank from YouTube used. There was another YouTuber with like an affiliate link for a language learning platform that they recommended. And so that might give you a little bit of a better sense of like, I told myself that I can use the streak phrases. And in this one, did I say what platform I wanted to use? I did later. So that's kind of like my foundational description. And then what I will do is I will mid-December start doing these goals, and I will try to do them on the cadence and the frequency that I have set out. And then come the end of December, I will reflect. I will add a little spot at the bottom of the description in a different color that is a reflection and like further guidance going into the actual new year. And for example, for this Duolingo lesson daily, I said for now, sticking with Duolingo, but I want to use the desktop app Monday through Friday and the phone on the weekend. And so this is just me trying to give like further parameters as to how to best do this goal for myself. Why I wanted to use the desktop is because I feel like it will make me less likely to scroll on my phone. It's easy, to go from a lesson and then be like, oh, there's a notification for Instagram or something, and then hop over there. Whereas if I'm using the desktop version of the app, I feel like I'm less likely to just like get distracted. But that's basically what that looks like. And I mean, I have a ton of different goals, and I'll tell you about them later, but the descriptions can be pretty extensive for some of them. And pretty personal, but I would recommend doing that. I think making them really personal and really digging into why this is important to you is a big part of unpacking the goal, but also will help you figure out what's the most important and where you need to allocate your time. So like some of my goals are only like that Duolingo goal can maybe take up 2 or 3 minutes of my day, where other ones are probably like, for example, I also want to like learn to do the splits. That one is probably, takes up like a good 20 minutes of my day. So it just, depends on what you got going on. But that is how I prepare my goals. And again, I think the reason that I started doing this was because I was like, I'm not reaching my goals by just saying them, saying I'm going to do them and just trying to do them. Like I need to put on my project manager brain, which I already use in my job. And I bet like many of you do too, where you're already having to like meticulously plan out something. Like I should just be using that same headspace to map out my goals and create a more realistic version of how they're going to get done. I guess you could even go as far as to try to use the like SMART goals format that I feel like is very kind of cringe and corporate-y, but I guess it does work, so you could do that too. Now what I want to get into is what my New Year's resolutions are and kind of where I'm at with each, because what I have set out to do in the new year has certainly already changed for some of these. So let's see, let me scroll to the top. My first goal was that Duolingo lesson daily. And this is just because I have an interest in learning Spanish someday. I think I'll be able to take it much more seriously once I'm done with school and actually allocate more time to it. This is really just like, let me just make sure I'm getting just a little bit of knowledge every single day. Nothing crazy. My next goal is doing 10 minutes of piano Monday through Friday for the whole year with pre-planned break exceptions. This is an extension from last year's goal, and I've always just wanted to learn to play the piano. I really would like to do some musical theater someday. I would like to take voice lessons someday, and I feel like learning the piano is a very helpful tool for all of that. I also used to play the saxophone, so I do know how to read music. I just have zero idea how to play the piano. And so because like I don't have time to be getting a tutor right now, I use the Simply Piano app, which I really like. It is a subscription that I pay for, and it's not the cheapest subscription. I want to say it's like 20 or 25 bucks a month, but it's really good, I think, for foundational learners. And they have like everything from like your day-to-day lessons and then the sheet music, but also these challenges. They have like 2 or 3 week-long challenges of little songs that'll be like, over the holidays, they're like Christmas themed, or they randomly just had like a video game music challenge, and you like, as you do more of the pieces, you like unlock more and get more music to play. So I really like it. And I think the 10 minutes is just enough for me to like stay engaged right now. That's another goal. I honestly feel like the Duolingo and the piano are 2 things I would really like to dive into once I'm graduated and have more time on my hands. But that is another goal. Oh, and I forgot to say. So let's see, both of these are Monday through Friday goals. And I will say that I have stuck pretty well to both of those. I think the Duolingo has definitely happened daily since the new year. And then the 10 minutes of piano, with the exception of this past week, the spring forward really got me. And then also work has just been really busy this week. So I feel like this past week has been the first time I haven't been consistently hitting my 10 minutes of piano. But for the most part, I've been pretty good. I just need to kind of like jump back on the bandwagon, or not on the bandwagon, but jump back on the horse this week. Is that the phrase? I'm not totally sure. Another goal that I have is doing hip and shoulder PT Monday through Friday for the whole year. Again, with pre-planned break exceptions, meaning if there's like a holiday on a Monday, I don't have to do it that day. But basically I have a ongoing hip issue, and then I had a shoulder injury from dance this summer. So I have PT for that. And this one I struggled with at first because I wasn't sure how I wanted to track this goal. My physical therapist has an actual app called MedBridge, which I bet if you go to PT, you might be familiar with, but I didn't like the way it was, I didn't like the user experience. So I haven't been using that, and I've just been using my notes app. And I started by like building out my whole PT schedule that was on MedBridge to there. But honestly, it felt like too much. Like I'm still working out pretty regularly, and so doing all of that PT on top of that every day, while definitely good for me, just felt like a little too much. So I reconfigured it, and now I'm doing a little bit less each day, but my shoulder seems to be feeling well, and my hip is on and off. I feel like sometimes my bed is just like the thing that is aggravating my hip. But yeah, I've reconfigured how I track that and am feeling better about that. I've been kind of bad this past week has just been like a bad week for New Year's resolutions in general. I just have been like really tired with the spring forward. So I have not done this one consistently this week. So again, another one that I need to jump back on with this week. Okay, this walking one it has changed quite a bit since the beginning of the year. So the original goal was to get 5 to 10K steps with or I should clarify, 5 to 10K steps a day, with half of the month needing to be 10K steps. So, if there's 30 days in a month, 15 of those days have to be 10,000 steps a day, and the other half can be 5. I have been all over the place with this goal, and I feel like I maybe didn't do a good enough trial run, or maybe just like had more time on my hands because it was winter break when I was doing the trial, and was able to get it done then. But now that I'm like back working and in school, it's just been too much for me this quarter. And so frankly, I've just been trying to make sure that I hit 5,000 steps a day. I also have been going a period through trying to get better at running, and have been using the Couch to 5K app. That's like a whole other set of goals that I'll talk about here in a sec. But basically, like this goal in combination with the Couch to 5K goal was a bit too much. And honestly, the Couch to 5K goal has also not been going well. I just am like not motivated to run with how dreary it has like kind of been this past week. So past 2 weeks, if I'm being honest. So I don't know. The running also just doesn't excite me. I wish I was someone who liked running. I'm really fortunate that I've been able to run outside this whole time. And that is certainly better for me than running in a gym, but it's just not engaging enough to me. So I have since kind of like thrown all of these like walking, running goals out the window, and I have been able to maintain the 5,000 steps a day. But now that I think I'm going to be running less, I am going to try and do 10,000 steps again, 10,000 steps a day again, and kind of return to that original goal. And that original goal, I should say, you're missing context. This was a goal that I also pulled from last year, but I didn't start this goal at the beginning of 2025. I actually started it going into my last quarter of school. So I started it more in like September of 2025. And it was a goal just to keep my body moving. I knew I was going to be in a really intense quarter and probably not exercising as much as I wanted to be. But at the time where my boyfriend and I lived, we had a treadmill in the building. So I'd go downstairs and like watch lectures. And I had a lot of lecture to watch, and I would walk on the treadmill while I was doing it. And it was great. I actually like very easily hit 10,000 steps a day. But I was also watching like 2 hours of lecture every day. So it's just like, it's one of those ones where it takes a while, but I find that ultimately it is like the most complimentary for me when I'm in school, because if I can be on a treadmill and watching lecture. Like, I'm knocking out two birds with one stone. And I'm guessing that's probably going to be the case for me going forward this spring. So this is an ever evolving goal. And again, I just need to be able to have flexibility with these things, which is a lesson I learned from last year. And then going back even further is something I would have had zero tolerance for in years prior. So you learn things, you learn what works for you. I'm kind of back on just trying to get 10,000 steps every day. But boy, does it take a while. So I do try to use, I also have a, well, now we've since moved from where we were previously, but I have a walking pad that I use, and just used it yesterday and was able to get like half the day's worth of steps just in a meeting. Crazy. But another New Year's resolution that I have is 4 salads per week, January through April. I'm trying very hard to do a lot of working out, but I recognize that one of my shortfalls is just like eating right throughout the week. And in the winter, it is hard to want to be eating salads. And so my definition of a salad is pretty loose. It's just like, does it have leafy greens or any like predominant amount of green in it? And is it mostly vegetables and fruits and stuff? So I've been making a really good miso edamame salad this week that maybe I can insert the recipe for. But that's just to try to make sure that I am eating right and that my diet is not sabotaging all of the walking and dance that I am doing. Let's see. Is this my last New Year's resolution? My last New Year's resolution. Let's see. I've got a couple more. I'm going to try to breeze through them because this video is starting to get kind of on the longer side. But another goal that I have is to do the splits by the end of the year. I feel like the splits is something like middle and front are both things I've always wanted to be able to do and haven't been able to do. I don't know if I could do them as a kid. I can't remember if I was that flexy or not. But I feel like my dance is very limited by my flexibility right now. So this is a big goal for me to try to get it by the end of the year. And then I just also think it would help with like hip and shoulder, or not shoulder, but hit my hip PT, like having looser hip flexors, I think is probably only a good thing for me. I have a very detailed description for this one, but that is basically a quick summary of it, is that I think it'll just launch me further in my dancing journey, which I feel like is plateauing a little bit right now because I just don't quite have that flexibility and I can't snap up and down the way others can. Is this the last New Year's resolution I'm going to talk about? I'll talk about 2 more. So the second to last New Year's resolution is that I'm trying to hit 3 dance classes a week. My membership makes it so, for the studio that I go to, makes it so that I can go to 4 a week. But honestly, 4 a week is a lot. And unfortunately, they don't have they have like an 8 class a month membership or a 16. But ideally what I want is a 12. I feel like that's where I like hit the most perfect stride for me, where I'm like going frequently enough that I'm like seeing a difference. So I just pay for the 16 because it's a better deal. I used like AI to help me figure out like what package is the best deal for me. Do I like do the 8 plus a class pass, or do I just do the 16 class membership a month? It was like a whole thing. But yeah, I'm trying to hit 3 dance classes a week. And I guess I might as well bring up that in partnership with this, I was trying to also use the Couch to 5K app to run 3 times a week on like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, because even though I'm going to a lot of dance class can be pretty technical. And so you're not always getting like a sustained heart rate elevated workout. So I recognize that my cardio hasn't been doing as well, which is why I was wanting to partner the running with it. But I don't know, the running I just don't find to be very rewarding. I think it could just be that I need to start that goal when the weather's nicer and I will feel more inspired to do it, because I struggle right now with like it just being kind of a stressful thing. And even though it's like good for me and I'm very much so in my body when it's happening, I feel like it's just not pleasant, and it kind of makes my mind race. Whereas I know a lot of people, it's a mind calming thing. It's a little bit of a mind racy thing for me. So I am still certainly going to be going to 3 dance classes a week, but I am nixing the couch to 5K at first right now and going to trade it for 10,000 steps a day, because I think that should help me stay where I want to be for the time being. I do plan on trying to up my cardio more this spring. I might be purchasing some rollerblades. I think that would be a really fun activity for me. So looking for other ways to keep my heart rate elevated. Not all the time, but, for the sake of a workout. But yeah, again, reconfiguring the goals to work for the moment that I am in right now, because it is certainly not always perfect. Okay, that is the last goal I'm going to share at this time. I do have some more like personal ones, just that are around like, personal life admin, that just feel, oh gosh, they're so long. This video would be forever if I were to go into detail with those. Maybe I will someday. But I would say use this Notion page, or if you do this in like a diary or a journal or whatever, like use it to your heart's content. There are so many things you can make New Year's resolutions about, and I feel as though this method has just worked really well for me, and it's something that I want to continue going forward. So like I said, I would like to check in on these New Year's resolutions maybe in June and maybe again in like November, December. But if you are looking to build out a New Year's resolution, I would highly recommend the structure that I described. I guess with that, I will say wish me luck on my New Year's resolutions, and I will check in with them, or I will check in on them later. Okay, have a good day. Bye.